Welcome into Steelers Latest, your daily spot for all news and information related to your Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm your host, Cole Denis, and please like and subscribe to the channel if you enjoy the content to stay up to date with everything Steelers. But let's get rolling as the Steelers continue to fill out their coaching staff. Mike McCarthy continuing to bring in some people he knows, some newer faces in the coaching world. Let's talk about them. So the defensive pass game coordinator, Jason Simmons, Scott Hurley, inside linebacker coach, Steve Scarnacchia, chief of staff. Those three on the defensive side of the ball. I think Steve Scarnacchia, chief of staff, is probably the best hire there on that side of the ball. It will be interesting to see how the defense plays. Still need to find a defensive coordinator out there for Mike McCarthy. So the offensive side of the ball is a little more filled out. Not too surprising there, knowing Mike McCarthy's history as a coach, knowing he's an offensive coach. That is his world, the offensive side of the ball. So who did he bring in there? We've already talked about James Campton, the offensive line coach he brought in earlier last week. We talked about him. He's someone McCarthy coached with in Green Bay. And then assistant offensive line coach, Johnny Evans, former New Orleans Saints, former All Pro, former Super Bowl champion. That hire. I'm a big fan of former players as offensive line coaches. I think it makes the most sense. Tyree Evans, I think he's going to have a stellar coaching career ahead of him, especially as offensive line coach. I think bringing him in will really help very young talent on the offensive line. I think he pairs well with James Campen. And you got Raymond Chinyoung Sr., the running backs coach, Adam Henry, wide receivers coach, Tom Arth, quarterbacks coach. That is it so far for our Steelers. So the coaching staff continues to fill in. My favorite hire so far, though, Johnny Evans. Love to see that. Love former players being offensive line coaches. That's just my preference. But let's continue. Let's compare our head coaching hire to the rest. Every team has filled their head coaching position so far. Where do we line up? Uh, Honestly, probably either in the middle or last. I'd rank us from probably 6 to 8 when it comes to head coaching hires. Let's talk about them one by one, though. John Harbaugh going to New York. Honestly, I think is probably the clear best hire of this coaching window, this coaching hiring window. Jesse Minter probably going to be number two with Baltimore Ravens. I think he's going to kind of turn that culture back to focusing on the defensive side of the ball, and that kind of pairs well, knowing they have Lamar Jackson, 2,000 he already knows. So, well, hurts me to say, but they did have a good time with Justin Minter. Kevin Stefanski to Atlanta. I think that's probably a little better than Mike McCarthy. Coming to us, Kevin Stefanski. He's probably one of the better offensive minded head coaches out there. He was able to win with the Browns, which is pretty impressive. I know the past couple of years didn't go too well, but he did bring the Browns a playoff win in his time. Don't be surprised if he does it with Atlanta too. Robert Saleh to Tennessee. Not that big of a fan of Robert Saleh, honestly. I think he's a good defensive coordinator. I think this one is worse than bringing in Mike McCarthy. I think Mike McCarthy is probably a better head coaching than Robert Saleh at this point in both of their careers. Let's move to Clint Kubiak for the Las Vegas Raiders. Clint Kubiak's still coaching. He's going to be coaching in the Super Bowl this Sunday. I think he's done a phenomenal job on the offensive side of the ball in Seattle with Sam Darnold. So I think that one probably better than Mike McCarthy. And yeah, I would say Clint Kubiak. He is a new head coach, first time head coach. There's a bunch of first time head coaches here in this window. Joe Brady to the Buffalo Bills. I don't know. I think Mike McCarthy probably better than Joe Brady. I know Joe Brady has been able to really rein in Josh Allen and make that Bills offense a consistent threat. made sure Josh Allen isn't turning the ball over. So Joe Brady probably better hire than McCarthy, or probably on the same level. Jeff Halfley to the Miami Dolphins. I would say McCarthy's got a running speed run the last couple here. McCarthy better. Mike LaFleur, Matt LaFleur's yeah, younger brother, uh, to Arizona. I think McCarthy's better than Mike LaFleur. Todd Monken to Cleveland. Todd Monken going to Cleveland. He couldn't really get a head coaching job anywhere else. No one wanted to go to Cleveland. I think Cleveland's kind of stretching here. I think they had a better head coach last year. So Mike McCarthy probably in the 6 to 8 spot when it comes to ranking who's head coach, who got the best head coach in this window. So that's where I'm thinking. Not the best performance from the Steelers. Could have been better. Could have been worse. Also, not too much worse, but definitely could have been worse. Could have brought in Todd Monken, someone no one really wanted to be a head coach in the NFL. Again, let's continue though. Who the player we can bring in to kind of fill that receiving position that we're looking for? We should pursue Romeo Dobbs. He might be the perfect option to be a number 2 receiver with us here in Pittsburgh. We know who our number 1 guy is. It's going to be DK Metcalf. We need more receiver depth, more talent at the receiver position. Romeo Dobbs definitely has that. More and more looking like Aaron Rodgers will be coming back next year. It seems like the Steelers front office and staff are fans of Aaron Rodgers, want him to return if he continues playing in the NFL. I know there's a timeline set for his decision. Romeo Dobbs and Aaron Rodgers, a bit of experience together. Romeo Dobbs is very talented. I think he's proven that over his years in Green Bay, that he can continue to prove that he's a solid number 2 wide receiver, especially if you give him someone like DK Metcalf next to him. He's been performing well with Christian Watson. They really haven't had that number one guy in Green Bay, and Romeo Dobbs has continued to put up solid numbers. So bringing him in next to DK Metcalf would be a perfect fit to finally solve this receiver issue that we dealt with all last year. Let's wrap up today's show. Continuing talking about the offensive side of the ball. We can't lose KG. Kenneth Gainwell, he only had a 1 year contract. Steelers have to re-sign him. Sorry, but I think Kenneth Gainwell was clearly the best running back on the team this year. He was clearly the best player on the offensive side of the ball this year. So I'd love to see the Steelers go out there, re-sign him. He's a threat in both the pass and the run game. He seemed to be able to locate holes better when you gave him the ball on the ground game. So I'm really interested in continuing to have him on our team. Hopefully, the Steelers front office see his worth and what he's worth. So the Steelers don't lose their team MVP of 2025. But that has been it from Steelers latest. I've been your host, Cole Denis. See you tomorrow.